Hey, welcome to Groove Diner After Dark. I don't even know what episode number this is anymore. I've completely stopped counting. I've kind of stopped caring. Oh, look at that. I just found out it's episode 9. Thanks for the comment there. I already see people joining us from all around the world. Thank you, Charles, for saying hello from South Africa. I think I saw Chris Ware jumping in from the Memphis, Tennessee area. Wherever you're watching from, please let us know because you know we like to say hello to everybody as you chime in. Tonight's episode is going to be an awful lot of fun. I'm going to tell you about our guest here in just a minute. But for now, I wanted to talk about the elephant in the room. This week, we lost a member of the incredibly tight-knit drummer community, and particularly the drummer community here in LA, Taylor Hawkins of the Foo Fighters. Regardless of the circumstances surrounding his death, he has left a void in the community that is drummers. And if you know anything about drummers at all, you know we really like each other. We are bros. We hang out with each other. We share tips. We show off everything that we can learn to play, and we help other drummers play the things that we're good at already. It's just something that we do. It's really interesting because it's kind of rare among musicians to be this giving and sharing. And Taylor was exactly like that. He was an absolute supernova of energy. If you ever saw the Foo Fighters play, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He was all arms, legs, and teeth. The guy smiled constantly. He never bathed. If you've ever met Taylor, you would know what I'm talking about. I met him more than once, 3 or 4 or 5 times. You know, it's not like we were best friends. I didn't have his cell number or something. But he was one of the best among us, and he is leaving an absolutely huge, huge hole in the drummer community. There's even some concern that this might be the very last gasp of rock and roll. The Foo Fighters are kind of the last real rock band that's doing anything. And now with the loss of Taylor, does that mean that rock and roll is officially dead too? I hope not. There's an awful lot of us that have made a ton of a living and made a life in rock and roll. And I just hope that there's more to come. I hope that young bands will get out there and play, start making music together, play the clubs, do those things that we used to do, because the world needs live music and live musicians. Somebody like Taylor Hawkins impacted so many people. One of my very dear friends met Taylor at a show in Austin, Texas, and ended up talking to Taylor after the show. And he said, I've been thinking about moving to LA. Taylor said, here's my phone number. You should make the move. When you get here, call me. And my friend did. And Taylor actually set him up to become a wildly successful drummer. That's the kind of guy he was. He leaves behind 2 daughters and a wife and a legacy of real music. So rest well, Taylor, and I hope we all learned a thing or two about how to live our lives. So now, with that said, I am really looking forward to introducing you to Emma Green tonight, and we'll be back right after this. This episode of Groove Diner After Dark is brought to you by Groove Diner After Dark, the store. That's right, starting with tonight's episode, you can tell the world of your love for Groove Diner After Dark by owning official Groove Diner After Dark merchandise. Coffee mugs, t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, a pint glass, stickers, and much more can be yours today. Simply go to GrooveDinerAfterDark.com or click the link in this video description and get your gear today. Thank you for your support. All right, so tonight I am so excited to introduce you to my dear friend and career savior, Emma Green. And I'm not even kidding when I say that. Emma helped me through a time right after I'd moved to California. I was playing every gig on the planet. If it was on Craigslist and I could take the gig, I took the gig. I'm talking about 300 shows over the course of 18 months. I'll let you do that math. It was a lot. And I basically played my right arm to death. It just stopped working, and particularly my elbow. I went through, I can't even remember the number of doctors. As a sidebar, one of the doctors, total quack, whoever he was, I wish I knew his name, I'd put it out there. He wanted to carve my arm with a chisel and hammer. Did you know that? With a chisel and hammer, and lay the muscle back, and then scrape it down, and then put it back. And he gave me a 70% chance of maybe healing. Yeah, that's not how that works. The good news is I did find a great hand and arm specialist surgeon who said, you don't need surgery, you need help with therapy. And she sent me to an occupational therapist whom I love, but that didn't quite work out. But the occupational therapist, hi Jackie, if you happen to be watching, introduced me to this tiny English woman who became a very good friend after I hated her guts. And I couldn't stand her at all because she was really hurting me. And I would leave the therapy sessions. Oh my gosh, my body was killing me. And she would never touch my arm. Drove me crazy. And one day I said, please show me how this works. And she took me down to the skeleton with the muscles attached. What was the name?
Henry,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Took
me down there to see Henry. And she showed me how it all worked, and we started working together, and now I love her to death. So we're going to meet Emma in a few minutes here, but right now we're going to show you about a 6-minute video, if you can believe that, of Buddy highlights, something we never do, things that I have played on. All of these happened after Emma fixed my arm. Can you imagine that? So take a look at this, and remember that if you've got any questions for this brilliant woman, that's right, I said it in front of her. If you've got any questions for her, now's your chance. If your big toe's hurting, ask her, okay? Let's roll that video.
Introducing the newest marching drumhead innovation from Remo. The Suede Max. With an all-new, softer feel and warmer tone. Suede Max is the next level in feel and tone. The Suede Max is made with state-of-the-art high-tension fabric weave for maximum durability. Combined with Remo's proprietary suede texture process, it provides an ultimate softer feel and warmer tone in a marching snare head like never before. Suede Max also provides higher clarity at lower dynamic levels, a black matte finish with a warm attack, and is ideal for all marching applications. Remo, making the best even better.
Tell me, what shall we do when our little girl won't obey? Do we put her in the shed and make her sleep with the horses? No. A switch on the back will hit its mark. She will no longer be naughty and behave herself nicely.
The new College Football Hall of Fame and Chick-fil-A fan experience puts you closer to the game than ever before. Featuring over 30,000 square feet of interactive exhibits that make it feel like game day every day. Get your tickets now at cfbhall.com.
You've got the food and room for all your friends. Now, it's time for game day fun. Wherever the season takes you, always bring the home field advantage. For a dealer in the RV that's right for you, visit GoRVing.com.
Customize your look and sound like never before with Emperor Color Tone Crimp Lock tenor drum heads from Remo. Emperor Color Tone tenor heads are constructed with 2 plies of highly durable clear mylar film infused with Remo's proprietary skin deep imaging technology for the ultimate in visual effect without sacrificing sound or durability. Choose from 6 vibrant colors: yellow, green, blue, purple, red, orange. Up your game with Color Tone tenor heads. Remo, making the best even better.
Throws him out. He leaps and makes the catch. Seager goes deep. That ball's hammered. It is gone. Struck him out. Inning over. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. The Dodgers win the National League Division Series.
All right, please help me welcome Emma Green to the show.
Thanks,
Thank
buddy.
you for joining us tonight, Emma. I appreciate you being here so much. Emma is a #1 best-selling author on Amazon.com, the tennis elbow queen, she calls herself, because she is. The book is called Tennis Elbow Relief, right? Yeah. And serving up solutions for lateral epicondylitis. I got it the second time.
Yeah, you did.
I normally get it the first time, but, because we're live,
I know.
I didn't get it tonight. This is her book. Go to Amazon and get it. Emma, thank you so much for being here. I really do owe my career to you. And I think you know that. I've told you that many times through the years.
You have.
By the way, just as a sidebar, Emma asked me to write the foreword to this book. So if you're curious to hear my whole story, it's in the book. Yeah. It's really something to me to think back, because this whole thing began in 2009. And I'd been to so many doctors and had even considered getting an X tattooed on my elbow, if you recall, to show them where to inject the cortisone shots, because it was the end of the line for me.
Yeah.
And I knew that. And when I met you, I joked about not liking you. I loved you. But you had some different ideas. I really want to know what took you down the path to create the therapy that ultimately you've used to help me.
Yeah. And I want to say thank you for having me on the show. This is amazing. It's a really great opportunity. So, yeah, when I think back to that very first time that I saw you standing in the hospital waiting room and you just looked like a shell of a man. You were just not yourself. I mean, when you think about somebody who is just so demoralized and in pain and can't do what they want to do, that was you.
I couldn't even lift a bottle of water with my right arm.
That's it. That's it. And I think it's so frustrating when you've tried so many different avenues and you've just come to a dead end each time. And you just think, is this ever going to change, or is this how it's going to be forever?
Absolutely.
And it's so frustrating. And then along comes somebody else and they've got ideas and you kind of think, I can remember you rolling your eyes at me. It's like, oh, here we go again. What's she going to say?
Yeah, I'm sure I did.
And so, you know, I kind of really wanted to help you.
Yeah.
You know, we really clicked. I really wanted to help you. And I thought, right, what can I do to help this guy? Because all he wants to do is play the drums.
Right.
And the one thing he can't do is play the drums.
Yeah.
So how can we get him back to that? And so I went and trawled through the research. You know, I was able to do that at the time. It just was happen chance that I had that opportunity.
Right.
Trawled through it because I was like, okay, let me see. What does the medical literature say about healing elbows? And it didn't. And that was the problem. It told us loads of things that didn't work,
Right.
but nothing that did.
Right.
So I thought, okay, well, I know from my sports background, I know how to heal tendons. Now, they were Achilles tendons.
Right.
But I knew how to heal those. And I'd done that before really successfully with athletes. And I thought, I wonder if I apply those principles to this elbow, is that going to work? And that's what we did.
And ultimately, it didn't work immediately. And that was something that your encouragement helped me keep going with the therapy. And you know this better than I do, that so often with physical therapy, people quit because it doesn't work immediately.
Yeah.
So you continue to encourage me with regard to the Achilles tendon thing, and I knew that's where it came from. What was it about that particular tendon and that particular exercise that made you think this might actually work on an elbow as opposed to some other tendon? Why that specifically?
Yeah, I think the principles of it are knowing how to put those stresses and strains through the Achilles and having seen with my own eyes how that could help to go from a really swollen tendon that, I mean, literally looked like it was almost like a plum to then a normal tendon because of the stresses and strains that I taught this patient to put through. And then I was like, right, how can we do that with the elbow? How can we put those same stresses and strains through? And we tried different things, as you will recall.
Indeed. She does something called mobilizing that I'm not a fan of.
and some of them worked and some of them didn't. And it was a lot of trial and error, but the longer somebody has suffered with something, the more things that are involved as well. And that was part of the issue because you'd been suffering for 18 months by the time you got in front of me.
That's right.
So imagine a pebble dropping into a pond and those ripples starting to go out and out and out. And over time, they go further and further out.
Right.
So when you've got the problem with the elbow, over time, it's going to start spreading further up. It's going to start spreading further down. And we had to peel back all of those layers.
My goodness. The layers were pretty seriously deep with me. and in fact, I'm going to look right at the camera when I say this. She started working on my back, really. It was my shoulder, and I'm like, what is with this woman? It's down here. I'm having the trouble here, not here. And that was when Henry came along, the skeleton, because I was not having it, and you got frustrated with me, and kind of it was one of the grab me by the ear and take me down and show me how it works. Okay, I'm like 1.5 feet taller than her, so not really
easily.
Yeah, right. But seriously, that you simply were just gonna fix me.
Yeah.
It was just that simple. Yeah. And now you've essentially become world famous for the very thing that you created to help me. The book is selling well.
Yep.
Are you going to have a follow-up?
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about
actually
that.
in the process of writing the follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little more general. It's using similar principles just to eliminate any types of pain.
Got it.
So the first book is very specific. It's
Right.
tennis elbow.
Right.
And so the second book is, again, using those same principles, but anybody could pick this up, whether they have neck pain, shoulder pain, back pain, knee pain, hip pain, whatever it is. This second book, the principles are going to be there for you.
Sure. My question for you about all of this really revolves around how if you had said to me, you have tennis elbow, I would have like turned around and left. How do people that don't necessarily know that they have tennis elbow know to come to you for this? How can you self-diagnose tennis elbow? I don't play tennis. I mean, that's the thing. How does that work?
Yeah, most people who have tennis elbow don't play tennis.
Yeah, right.
That is the hard part. There are certain things that we will listen for when we're interviewing a client for the first time.
Okay.
And one of the most classic things people say is, I can't pick up my coffee cup or my bottle of water.
Mm-hmm.
And that was you.
That
You know,
sounds
you
incredibly
absolutely
familiar.
said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the things that we look for. And then we start, asking different questions. Where is the pain? And do you have associated symptoms?
Right.
How's your neck? How's your shoulder? Tingling, pins and needles, numbness. What else is going on? What
Right.
else do we need to work with?
I remember ultimately you were asking me that, and I was moving like this.
Yes.
My entire body would move.
Yes.
I could not turn my neck.
Yes.
And so that's exactly what you were talking about with fixing the other things before we could ever get to the elbow.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a few folks saying hello. Hi, Charles. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us from South Africa this morning for you. I suppose it is. Hey, Eddie Taduri. Thanks for being here. Glad you're enjoying this one. Emma's pretty awesome. So are you, though. Thanks for being on a couple of weeks ago. Chris Ware. Nice to see you, as I said earlier. You guys, if you have any questions for Emma, this is your time. You should do it. Ask them. I'm missing Toby tonight. Where is she? Toby, you're always here. Where are you? Emma, I wanted to touch base a little bit on your athletic side. Tell me, you mentioned that you had a lot of experience with it. So Team GB.
Yep.
What is Team GB and what exactly did you do with Team GB?
Yeah, so Team GB, Team Great Britain.
Yes.
That's who I used to work for in my previous life.
Right.
When you can probably tell from my accent, I'm from the other side of the pond.
You're from New York, right?
A little further, keep going. Somebody once said that to me, from back east. I was like, yeah, they're like way back east. Yeah. So born and grew up in England, trained in the UK, worked for the National Health Service for 10 years, and also worked for a number of the Great Britain teams and England teams, such as field hockey was the main one, netball, gymnastics, taekwondo, table tennis, soccer.
These are the Olympic teams.
These are Team GB teams, Olympic and England teams. Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was basically what I wanted to do. As growing up, I was a gymnast. I loved sport. I was in every team at school.
Sure.
Every night after school, I'd be going to some team or club. I just loved it. So when I found physical therapy at the age of 13, because I had a problem with my knees, as a gymnast, I can remember sitting in the physical therapy department, looking around, going, I could do this. And then when I started looking into it and realized I could do it with sport, it's like that. I never looked back.
Sure.
So from 13, I knew what I wanted to do, took all my classes to get me to university, and then started working with sport every weekend, every evening. That's just what I did.
Sure.
And then moving over to the US, had a couple of kids, slowed me down from the traveling.
Why did you come to the US?
So my husband always wanted to live and work over here.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. I didn't know that. I did sort of say, do you mean Australia? And he kept saying no. Definitely the US. And so this is where we ended up. So he brought me out here on vacation. I can remember standing on Malibu Beach.
Oh, sure.
Going, yeah, all right then.
All right. And you guys still go to Malibu all the time.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Talk about a difference in climate and weather. Holy cow.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's what keeps us here.
I would think, right? Yeah. And you ended up in Pasadena specifically because you just happened to land there? Or?
We actually started off right by the Grove. We were in that area for a couple of years. And then My husband's firm said they were going to move to Pasadena, so we went and had a look at it. So we had a almost 2-year-old at that point. It was like, we could do with being a little further out of the city. Let's get into the suburbs. Went to see Pasadena, liked it, and ended up there. Yeah.
It's so funny. I think I followed you to about 4 different locations with your clinic over the years.
Can't get rid of you.
I know, right? And what's more, I mean, she also helped my wife. She actually helped Natalie with some things as well. So Emma's kind of, she's physical therapist second, friend first, but we still use her as much as we can. We've got a couple of questions here. Hi, Kendall. Nice to see you tonight. Renee Beavers has asked a question. I sometimes feel my right leg and foot has lost some endurance, speed, strength, etc. In the last 5 years, he says. The left leg, left foot feels more solid, as the right feels shallow, ghostly inside, if that makes any sense. Does that make any sense? He's on a gig right now, in fact, while he's asking the question. Let's, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Right leg endurance.
Yeah, so definitely my initial thought is, okay, what's going on with the back? So I would look at your back, I would look at your pelvis, your hip, to see what was going on there. Again, a little bit like we did with you, Buddy. Sure. It's like, let's start centrally and start peeling back those layers and see what we find. But definitely looking centrally first. So my advice would be find somebody who you really trust, who you know is going to be really good at helping you look through your back, making sure that there's nothing going on there that could potentially be affecting the nerves that are going down the leg.
Okay, that's good to know. Just so you guys know, I'm not sitting comfortably tonight because my physical therapist told me not to cross my leg.
You can do it, but then you just got to move so you feel comfortable.
Is there some sort of best practice that you could just recommend for drummers in particular with back? Because backs are an issue for drummers. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts and commentary on that idea?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the sitting. I see a lot of clients who, sit all day at desks and that's what their work is. And obviously 2 years ago when we all started working from home and a lot of ergonomic changes.
Of course.
So one of the pieces of advice that I do give is to not sit for longer than 20 minutes. So
20 minutes?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
So I say set your timer on your phone.
Right.
We all have timers on our phone now.
Indeed.
I'm not going to share how old I am, but I used to say get a kitchen timer before we all had phones. So set the timer on your phone for 20 minutes. When it goes off, stand up, sit down, set it again.
Literally that.
Literally that. It doesn't have to be a big thing. You don't have to walk off. You don't have to go away from what you're doing. But just that stand up and sit down, it's almost like a pattern interrupter.
Sure.
And it just changes it so that when you sit back down, you can then sit comfortably for 20 minutes.
That's a great idea. All right, so Renee, I hope that helps. Yeah, right there. One of the things that I've noticed as a player, I'm tall and long-legged and all of those things, is that I wish I had the pedal, but I don't have it. When I sit down, drummers actually have to balance. We basically have our feet in the air. Yeah. So we have to balance everything, and it's all rock solid right here on our booty, right? Yeah. I know when I was working with you that I had my ride cymbal kind of way over here, and it was outside the framework of my body. So ergonomically, it wasn't working for me very well. Do you have any thoughts on this? This is a really specific drummer question, so you may not even have a thought on this. But I sit a little higher because I want my leg to be sloped down ever so slightly, not much, ever so slightly, when my feet are on the pedals. Yeah. Does that seem to make sense to you to keep pressure off the back? What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. Because if you're going to be lower down, that's just going to then tilt your pelvis backwards, and that's going to put more pressure on your spine. So definitely to be higher is going to be in a better position. But this brings me on to the fact that core is crucial.
Oh, sure.
Crucial for you guys as drummers. Sure. It really is. And so working on your core is something that I would highly recommend doing. Professional musicians are essentially just like athletes.
Absolutely.
And you guys need to be doing strength and conditioning work for the activities that you want to be doing. And for drummers, core is going to be crucial. Sure. So that is one of the biggest things I would say.
They say that to drum for 2 hours is like running a marathon, that we expend the same amount of energy as a marathon runner. And I totally believe that. I can tell you I've had to be helped off the stage more than once. Because I'm just too tired to even get up. on my own at the end of a show. Charles Anderson has asked us another question here. What can be possible causes for carpal tunnel syndrome?
Definitely. It's an overuse problem for sure.
We have drumsticks if you'd like to demonstrate.
Yeah. You know, my dad would just like die. My dad's a drummer. Did you know
I don't
that?
think I knew that.
I know.
I've known you for like 12 years and I didn't know
Yeah.
your dad was a drummer.
Yeah.
That's why you wanted to help me.
So, you know what? Maybe it is. So he still has his drum set.
You're kidding.
Set up in the like living room,
Awesome.
like to my mum's dismay. But yeah. So he'll be, should I say, 80 at the end of the year. But his drum set is still set up. Yes.
Wow.
So
I think that's my favorite story ever right there.
Yeah.
How did I not know that?
I know. How did we never have that
I don't
conversation?
know. That's
Or maybe we
amazing.
did. You just weren't listening to me.
Probably.
Tune me out.
I was probably going, why is she rubbing my shoulder? My elbows hurt.
Right. That's it. Yeah.
Anyway, you were saying.
So, but anything overuse,
Yeah.
that's it. Carpal tunnel is a big overuse problem. And
Sure.
obviously, you know, we think about people who are working on a computer, maybe they're working on a mouse, they're
Mm-hmm.
typing all day. So anything where the hands and the wrists are doing repetitive motions,
Yeah.
what that does is it closes down the carpal tunnel. So the carpal tunnel is actually a tunnel that the nerves go through. And when you're doing repetitive movements with your hands and arms, because those muscles are working, they are going to close down that space a little bit where the nerves are. As it closes down, presses on the nerves don't like that, so they start complaining at you, which might be a little bit of tingling, pins and needles, or numbness, just something very mild to start with. If you can get rid of it at that problem, you can get rid of it really quickly.
Yeah.
Most people ignore it because it's just a little bit of tingling, pins and needles, numbness. I can cope with that.
Right.
But then that is then going to lead on to more severe things. So tingling, pins and needles, numbness, pain is ultimately where we'll end up with
pain
that.
is the problem there. Okay.
That's it.
So suggestions on how to start getting rid of it.
Yeah. So what we need to do is bring the muscle tension down. We know that when we use our muscles, when we use our arms, your muscle tension is going to go up. If we can do things that are going to bring the muscle tension back down, it's not going to close down that space and the nerves are going to be happy. Stretching is a really good thing to do. A really good thing to do to bring the muscle tension down. Okay. Also using heat. Heat is kind of very nice. Heat is your friend.
Absolutely.
Heat is a good thing to bring muscle tension down.
So not ice.
Ice is something that we use when there's a specific injury that you've done really recently. Okay. So if you've injured in the last 3 days, you can ice.
Okay.
Beyond that, switch it to the heat.
That's good information to have. Okay, so so stretching, any particular stretches that you can show me?
So really good stretches that you're going to want to do. Arm out in front, palm up, fingers down towards the floor. We're going to go palm to palm. And we're going to stretch that way. See how my elbow's straight?
I do, yeah.
And now you don't have to, when you kind of look at these stretches online, they'll show with the arm out like that.
Right.
I tend to keep the arm down a little bit.
Just because it's more comfortable?
It's just a little kinder to the nerves.
Oh, fair, okay.
So that one is a really good one. And then we're going to do the same thing with the palm down.
Okay.
And I know you know that one.
I do, for sure. And in fact, that's one I still do pretty regularly.
Yes, yeah. And then specifically for drummers, because I know we've talked about thumbs and the way that the hands can get really tight, kind of getting behind and pulling the thumb this way. Okay. That can be a really nice one too. Yeah. Keep it comfortable. Don't pull too hard. Don't overstretch. But that's a nice stretch just to open everything up through that area just because you've been working it so tightly.
Take a look at my thumb there. Do you see the scar tissue in there? Isn't that crazy?
I know, right?
It's just unreal. That's how much work I've done on those. It's unbelievable. So Charles actually had another part of the question. That was just part one. So Charles, let's see what you've got. What causes tennis elbow when playing squash? South African. Play squash.
Yeah.
What could cause that for him? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah. I mean, any kind of racket sport is going to be affecting that area. So tennis elbow is on the outside of the elbow. It's the tendon that is right on the outside of the elbow there. The tendon attaches to these forearm muscles. So anything that makes the forearm muscles switch on, it's going to pull on that tendon. Any kind of gripping motion switches these on. Sure. Again, let's go back to the drumsticks. Right, yeah. Let's go on to holding your racket. I see golfers who have tennis elbow in their non-dominant arm.
Oh.
So
Really?
who would have thought?
Yeah.
Golfer's elbow is on the inside. It's essentially the same pathology, just in a different part. But again, the forearm muscles attached to the tendon, they start tugging on the tendon. That tendon becomes irritated.
Sure. Okay.
So overuse.
Okay, so Kendall has written us a book of questions. Kendall, here we go. You ready?
Go for it.
I love it. I have a finger, left fourth digit, that's been locked in a clasp to palm position since an accident in 2005. It's locked because of damage to an internal tendon. I've been told that the digit could be unlocked with surgery. My question is there anything I can do myself at home, such as stretching exercises? Let me breathe. Stretching exercises, secret handshakes, etc., to get this finger unlocked. Thank you.
So certainly I would definitely start with heat, getting it into some hot water, using heat pads around there, soft tissue work. So a lot of soft tissue work through the palm and through the finger itself, and then some gentle stretches of all of the joints. So you want to stretch each joint individually, but do it after the heat. So you're going to sequence heat is first, then soft tissue techniques, then stretches. That's going to be most effective.
Is that all in the course of one session?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So heat,
then soft tissue, then stretch.
And the soft tissue work is what?
Getting in there, feeling.
Massage,
So essentially, yes, yeah. So it can be soft tissue massage. It can be trigger pointing. So finding, if you were talking about sort of tight areas scarring. If you find a tight area, you can literally just put some pressure on it.
All right, that's it for me on my thumb.
Yeah.
I know for sure that that's the spot that makes me hurt. Right there when I'm playing too aggressively these days.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Kendall, I hope that helps. I think that's a great question. Thank you. Eddie Taduri, my friend, thank you so much. Eddie, he says, and Eddie's an interesting story. He was on the show a couple of weeks back, and he says, I wouldn't know where to begin, a quadriplegic on the drums. And he is. It's mind over matter that makes my playing possible, and you're such a great player still. I wish I knew what to do somehow to make my playing more comfortable. Now, I've watched him play, and I'm not joking, and I'm not just saying this because he's watching. He's a great drummer. Still, even as a quadriplegic, he had a surfing accident.
Wow.
And he became a quadriplegic from it. His therapy sessions, his story is just kind of unbelievable. But is there some way that someone like that could find a more comfortable way to literally physically be behind the drums? I mean,
that would be sort of looking at how to sort of the best seated position, how to be supported. Trial and error. It would be trial and error, figuring out what was the most comfortable position, and then how can you transition that to being behind the drums. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, right.
Just to kind of like figure that out and try. It would be test different things, try different setups, and see which works best. Test and tweak.
I'm certain that he's tried an awful lot of different ones, and even his drum set is specially sized so that he can get around it differently and easier. Yeah. So he's really worked hard at it, and I mean, this is a guy that's played with the Beach Boys, So I mean, he's an absolutely phenomenal human. I really like him a lot too. So Kendall says thank you so much. He's going to give it a try.
He's so welcome.
Yes. So thanks, Kendall. It's funny because through the course of our relationship, I mentioned you helped my wife with some things too. I have definitely had other struggles. The thumbs and the elbow being number one, the occasional back tweak, and it always comes down to the same answer. Every time, and you've already said it, core. When you think core, you think sit-ups.
Right.
You think going to the gym and working out and holding your planks and all of that stuff. What else? What sort of things can help a core? Let's say, an office worker. Is there some way that somebody that sits in an office all day can work their core while they're sitting at the computer?
Absolutely. Yes. You want to do it right now?
I'm doing it already.
I love it. So there's a really simple core exercise that you can do, and we should all be doing it.
Okay.
So everyone who's watching right now, you got to do this core exercise, okay? So if your legs are crossed, let's uncross them. Come on, feet flat on the ground. just to keep being nice and symmetrical. We always want to try and be symmetrical. That looks good.
Yep.
Okay, so now we also want to make sure we're sitting in a good position. Imagine there's a piece of string attached to the top of your head, lifting you up to the ceiling. So we're kind of lifting up there. No, this is so good.
I already feel good.
See, a good sitting posture.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to imagine you're in the restroom and you're peeing.
Okay.
And you're going to stop the flow. So the muscles that you would use to stop the flow, switch on right now.
Yeah.
Are we all doing
there
it? Come on, switch on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stop the flow.
Switch on. So squeeze and then release.
Oh,
Squeeze and then release.
look at that.
Okay, so when you squeeze, what we're doing there is we're activating our pelvic floor muscles.
Right.
The pelvic floor muscles are obviously very internal. They work in conjunction with the biggest core muscle. One of the abdominal muscles, you have 4 different abdominal muscles. The deepest one, transversus abdominis, that's the most internal, works together with the pelvic floor. So when we switch the pelvic floor on, which is what we're doing when we're doing the squeeze, we get an automatic core contraction at the same time.
Interesting.
So this is what I teach my office workers. This is what I teach people who are sitting in the car. This is what drummers should be doing. So you should all have t-shirts on now. I'm switched on, right? Or that kind of thing.
We're going to add that to the merch store. It's coming.
Right?
Man.
Yeah. So that is the simplest one you can do, and you can do it anywhere. Nobody knows you're doing it. You can be switched on all day long because we should be.
Wow. Okay, so if I'm doing that, I'm not running the risk of peeing on myself, right?
No.
I hope not. If I'm doing that all day, so does that mean that I'm going to have a 6-pack?
Different muscle, but nice try. Now,
Thanks.
actually, I will tell you though, the core muscle, that deep one, transversus abdominis, it works like a corset. So actually, you're talking about your 6-pack, which is basically, straight up and down.
Right.
That is your sit-up muscle. So when you do sit-ups, it's your 6-pack that's working. When you're doing your core exercise, it's that deep muscle that's working. It acts like a corset. It does suck you in.
Interesting.
So the side effect of that exercise is a flatter stomach.
That's a good side effect.
Isn't it? Yes. We're all doing it still, right?
Right. Everybody's still kind of sitting here doing it. It's the whole what is it that they say you can't touch your nose with your tongue, and I forgot what it is. It's something stupid, and then everybody does it. Right?
Exercise.
I know, seriously. Oh my gosh, Dan, thank you for that comment. Dan goes, well, "What a pisser."
There you go. You're not going to forget it.
I know, right? You're not. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Charles, you're very welcome, good sir. Thanks for tuning in. He says, thank you so much for this episode. It is amazing.
You are so welcome.
You're amazing. So Chris Ware has asked us a question. What you got over here, Chris? My chest pops when I stretch or sneeze. It generally isn't painful. However, it seems incredibly odd. Is this a bad thing? Can it lead to later complications?
Great question.
Yeah.
All joints click and crunch and crack.
Do you know my nose?
All of them. See, like that. Just like that. So as long as it's not painful, we don't worry about it.
Really?
It is one of those things. Yeah, absolutely. If it starts to become painful, then definitely go and get it investigated. But you have joints in your chest, your ribs attached to your sternum, and so they're joints like any other. So they can click, crunch, pop, and as long as it doesn't hurt, not a problem.
No kidding. What about popping your fingers?
Same thing. I mean, some people will say, yeah, thank you.
She's hating it. She's over here like, please, no.
Some people will say if you overdo it, it can lead to arthritis. I mean, I think the jury is out on that, whether, the research doesn't really show us one way or another, whether it does or not. You're just forcing the gas out of the fluid in your joint.
That's really all it is.
That's what it is.
You've told me
That's
that before.
what that is.
You've told me that before, and I'm not sure I believe
Yeah. Sometimes if you can, like, click, 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 that tends to be a tendon that's rubbing over a bone.
Right.
And again, if it's not painful, we don't worry about it. But if you're doing that to a tendon, we know that tendons can become irritated if we do something repetitively. So there is that danger with a tendon.
If I recall, you said that the tendon in my elbow was basically like a serrated or a saw blade or something like that at some point.
Yeah, so the tendon degenerates. So imagine like a tightly wound up rope is what a normal tendon should look like. Imagine that rope unraveling. So as it like comes apart, the fibers come apart, that's what happens to a tendon as it degenerates.
Goodness gracious, that's crazy.
That's it.
Toby Simmons, I've been wondering where you were. Thank you for saying hello. I'm glad you made it. She said she fell asleep, but now she's here. So if you have any questions for Emma, now's the time. I know you have some interesting things going on in your world. She just moved. And so she's probably hurting from moving. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she does have some interesting things. So if you'd like to ask Emma anything at all, please do so. I wanted to take a quick little side note and say that Eli is back with us again tonight. So, hey, Eli, thanks for being here.
What's up, man?
How you doing? Gina Adams, hello. Thanks for joining us. I see that you're catching the replay later, so thank you for that. Also tonight, I have a special guest in the room back on this side of me. You'll notice that my clothing is a little different. And a young man who is in fact a fashion designer is here with me tonight. He DJ is just what I call him. That's what all of his friends call him, and I'm his friend now. See, but David Joseph, yeah.
Yes.
You can speak.
Hi.
Okay. David Joseph Designs. He is here with me tonight, and he's going to be helping me look better than I had been with my clothing, because I put out that call, as you know, a couple of weeks ago. Oh my gosh, I need some fashion help, and I had quite a few people respond. So thank you for that. But David here, DJ here, he's helping me out with some things. So if you like what you see, look him up. Okay. So let's see what we got. Hi, Gina. That's good to see you. Eli, Toby's saying hello to you. So is Eddie. Justin Scheidling, how are you doing in New York City? Everything good? He likes my look tonight. Thanks, brother man. I appreciate that. That's all him. It's all DJ. So check out his Instagram. What's your Instagram? Say it out loud.
David Joseph Designs.
David Joseph Designs on Instagram. Check him out. He's got his portfolio over there. So yeah, check that out. And Emma just looks great anyway, so she doesn't need any help. I did. That's so fun. I'm loving to see these comments coming in. Thank you so much. Emma, one thing I'd like to know is preventative medicine. How much of that is diet? How much of what happens within your world in particular with physical therapy is also around diet? What do you think?
Yes, so much has that of that has changed over the years, for sure. We've always known that having a healthy diet is something that obviously is great for keeping your body healthy.
Absolutely.
So we need to do that. But as more research comes out, we're starting to learn more and more and more. So I've always recommended for all of my clients who are healing, whether it's a tendon or a muscle, to be taking in protein, because we know the body heals with protein. So if there's not enough protein going in the diet, the body is going to take that protein from a source in the body. It will take it from the muscles. And we don't want to do that, especially when we're talking about tennis elbow. So we want to heal the tendon. Part of the problem with it is that the muscles are weak, and we have to strengthen those muscles in order to heal the tendon. Now, if the body is trying to heal the tendon and it's not got enough protein coming in, it's going to take protein from the muscles, and muscles are going to weaken. So that's going to perpetuate that cycle. So I do recommend protein going in. The more that we're hearing about plant-based diets, the more that I'm starting to sort of more recommend those now.
No kidding.
My husband is an Ironman triathlete, and he follows a number of the professionals, and a lot of them are now predominantly plant-based.
No kidding.
And so we're starting to see in these elite athletes, when they switch over to a plant-based diet, levels of sort of chronic inflammation decrease, stress hormones decrease. They're able to get stronger faster. They're able to recover faster.
No kidding.
And the body can just deal with that plant-based diet a whole lot better. So I think this is definitely something we're going to hear more about as well over the coming years, for sure.
A bit of a turning point, perhaps?
I think so, yeah.
Especially when you think athletics, you tend to think, steak
right,
and whatnot. So talking about getting protein from broccoli, which is something that I like to do anyway, that's a very difficult thing to get people to accept, I would think.
Yeah.
Have you run into people kind of pushing back on it?
You know, every now and again, I'm asked, you know, okay, with protein, do I need to have bone broth, or do I need to have chicken soup, or do I need to have that type of thing? And you can get protein from so many different sources. You know, just to have a snack, it's like a handful of nuts. There's your protein, or a peanut butter sandwich, there's your protein.
Woo-hoo, I'm all about the peanut
butter. That's it. So there's tons of plant-based protein that you can get. And again, the more we're learning about it, it's like that's actually a higher quality protein anyway. The body can deal with it better. So we're actually speeding up our healing as we are going more down that route.
Sure. I'm a big fan of the anti-dairy thing. I don't love dairy. I don't like how it makes me feel. I don't process it very well. So some proteins, whey protein, in fact, I can't even begin to use it. So it's because it's dairy based, obviously. We keep plant-based protein powders here. We both drink midday smoothies, and it's all plant-based stuff. And I always feel really, really good after that. You know, obviously we're still meat eaters, or at least I am. But it's an interesting thing. It's a lot easier than people think, too.
Yes. And I think becoming easier as well. You know, you just type in vegan now when you're doing your online shop, and it's like there's vegan ice cream, and there's vegan chocolate, and there's I mean, it's so easy.
Absolutely. This is sort of a different kind of question. With everything going on in COVID land, and now we're coming out of COVID land, what's on your mind about what's happened to people?
So definitely, you know, when we first went into lockdown, I pivoted on a dime. I went from 95% in-person clinic to 100% virtual, like over the course of a weekend. So it was like overnight. And I started to see a lot of clients, especially in that first sort of 6 to 9 months, who were working from home and had gone from a beautiful ergonomic setup in their office to their kitchen table or their dining room table. And so that was definitely having some issues. I'm starting to hear now about the Great Resignation. Oh, yes. Which is a big thing. Absolutely. And a lot of people have realized that actually they can work from home. They can do things at home and don't have to be traveling, don't have to be sitting in an office. Right. So I think it's going to make a huge difference to people's lives there, which is not such a bad thing. Not at all. But yeah, I definitely made that shift. I made that pivot and thoroughly enjoy being online now. There you go. Yes.
So I'll be coming to you to say, hey, help me out online.
Yes.
Excellent.
That's it.
Yeah. How do you, I know that during the course of this, a lot of people have gotten out of shape. I think a lot of us, myself certainly included, we began the pandemic going, I'm going to be the best I've ever been. And I'm going to be the best drummer. I'm going to be in the best shape, whatever. And we were all, I'm going to speak for myself. I was on fire the first 3 months, just, eating perfectly and working out perfectly and playing perfectly every day. Okay, playing as best as I could every day. Yeah. And then as the pandemic wore on, things started to fall by the wayside. And, ultimately I started ordering pizza instead of wanting to take care of things. Do you have any ideas on how we can get some of it back? Yeah. How can we reclaim some of those even the drive from the beginning?
Yeah, getting back on track. It's making small steps, taking baby steps, deciding what's the one thing you're going to change today, and just making that change, and then growing from there. So there's a lot out there. I introduced fitness classes. You should have come to my fitness class. My ladies now have been doing fitness classes for the last 2 years.
Well, I like going to the ladies' classes. I mean, that's where I met you. I was the only male in the ladies' classes.
That's it.
It was so fun.
Since we started doing our fitness classes. But there's a lot that you can tap into. Yeah. But just decide on that one change. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. We're talking about diet, meatless Mondays was a thing. There you go. And just like making one change, or just, deciding, okay, this is going to be, I'm going to start on my cardio. I advise people to start on the first of the month, which is on Friday.
That's right. Yeah.
So they could start on Friday, do 1 minute of cardio.
Mm-hmm.
You know, make it really easy, make it achievable. Don't set out to go and run 3 miles because you're just not going to do that.
Sure.
But go and do 1 minute of cardio. Literally set your timer, and then you've achieved it. And on the 2nd of April, you're going to do 2 minutes.
Sure.
And on the 3rd, you're going to do 3. And over the course of the month, you'll build yourself up to doing 30 minutes of cardio.
That's great. That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
I remember you actually had me doing cardio when I first started working with you. What is it about cardio specifically that helps with things like tendon injuries?
Yeah, it's getting the circulation going. There are a number of different things that I utilize with healing of tennis elbows that are a little bit out of the box, shall we say. And had you spoken to me 20 years and told me that I would be talking about meditation and visualization and all of these different things, I would have looked at you as though you were bonkers. I just wouldn't. There was no way that I would have been promoting these things. But now, again, with all of the research that we're seeing, everybody should be meditating every day because it's so good for our brains.
Sure.
Everybody should be using visualization to get back from an injury. Now, the athletes use it. I would use visualization with my elite athletes all the time. But with people who maybe can't use their mouse because it hurts their elbow, I've started using visualization with them. And it's more as a tool for getting for unlocking the healing.
Sure.
And it sounds very crazy. And sometimes people's eyes will glaze over because they're like, okay, she's gone totally woo-woo now. And I don't get it. So I try and explain why I use these certain things and why I'm asking them to go for a 30-minute walk every day to heal their elbow. And they're like, well, I'm not going to walk on my hands, am I? I'm like, not unless you want to. No, probably not. But it gets the circulation going. And as we get the circulation going, it's going to kickstart the healing process. And that's what we want.
All right. I totally understand that. Dan has posted a question that he got via email. Our email address is groovedinerafterdark@gmail.com. Another question here. We actually have just a little bit more time. We're actually out of time, if you can believe that. So we've only got a couple more questions here. Talking about drum thrones, and DJ's sitting on one, can we discuss the differences between bouncy hydraulic, bounce?
Yeah.
That's a bouncy hydraulic, and spring versus fixed seats and how they affect the back. So some drum thrones have springs underneath them, and some are just solid posts. You have any thoughts on this?
Yeah. I would say probably a more cushiony is going to be more comfortable.
Something like this.
Because it's going to absorb the strain rather than something so solid. But with any kind of seat, with any kind of mattress, with any kind of pillow, with your car seat, you got to try it. Because everybody's individual.
That's true.
So there's not going to be one size fits all. Obviously, we're all very different shapes and sizes.
Indeed, yes.
And you need to try it out. So definitely need to try it. But something that does have a little bit more give is going to be better on the joints.
I need to show you the Motion Pro that I have. It's actually got a split down the middle of it for your coccyx to sit in.
Right.
So that you're not putting pressure on your lower spine. I need to show you that before you leave tonight.
Yeah, that's good.
And let you check that out because it's an interesting drum throne.
Yeah.
I sit on it. It's probably the one I use the most, actually, just because it feels really good. You know, I'm like, okay, I can sit here for a long time. In fact, the chair over there that Eli's in is made by the same company, so you can just take a look at that. Well, we're kind of down to our final question.
Okay.
It's monumentally important, this final question, and I actually already know the answer to this.
Yes, you do.
Because she said to me, "Huh?" And I laughed. So.
Ask the question. Go on, ask it.
Emma Green. And if you get this wrong, we're not friends anymore.
Okay.
What is your favorite Rick Springfield song?
And I said, who's Rick Springfield?
And I went,
And I went, what if I'm not kidding?
And then we discovered that Mr. Springfield
was not that big in the UK back in the 80s.
He didn't have any hits in the 80s.
He had one top 40 hit in the 80s, and you can probably guess what that was.
Jesse's Girl.
Yeah.
Of course.
And that's the one I'm not allowed to say, right?
That's the one you're not allowed to say. But we'll give you a pass. Do you have any other, give me something related. I'm sure you've come up with something that you can answer this question with. What is it?
So I am going to answer this question with regards to Dusty Springfield.
We'll take that.
Because I can do that one.
Yes.
So my favorite Dusty Springfield
Yes.
song is Son of a Preacher Man.
That's a great song.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And it's so funny because Dusty Springfield was not nearly as big in the U.S. So
Right?
there we go.
Yeah.
We'll just swap it out.
There you go.
You get the UK version, we get the US version,
Yeah.
and we'll just call it a done deal.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. So fun fact
Yes.
about Son of a Preacher Man.
Yes.
Favorite Dusty Springfield song.
Yes.
It's also featured in the episode of The Office that my son is in.
You're kidding.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. I didn't know
there
your
you
son
go.
was even in an episode of The Office.
Yeah.
The US version.
The US version.
Because he was born here, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. 10 weeks old.
No kidding.
Mhm.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I
So
love
go
that.
check that out.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here and answering some questions
Oh,
and
you're so
hanging out with
welcome.
me. So, anything else that you'd like to impart before you go? Anything you'd like to?
Yeah, I would like to offer anybody, if you have something that you really want to ask me about, I'd be more than happy to offer you guys a free consultation. So just reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help you guys. I know
That's
what
awesome.
you guys do. I know the abuse that you put your bodies through.
Yes.
So please reach out, Emma at tenniselbowqueen.com.
I just love the tennis elbow queen. It's so awesome.
Yeah, and I'd be more than happy to help you guys. I do have a course on posture, so it's really aimed at people who sit in offices, but you guys sit. It's all about the core. It's
Yeah.
all about being in a good position. So if you need that kind of help, I've got it for you.
Thank you so much for that.
You're so
Don't
welcome.
forget, pick up her book on Amazon.com. Tennis Elbow Relief. I keep wanting to call her the Tennis Elbow Queen. That's why I keep looking at it. Tennis Elbow Relief. Take a look. Get this on Amazon. We put the link up already. And also tenniselbowqueen.com is up there too. So take a look. You're going to enjoy this book, even if you don't have tennis elbow, or maybe you do and you just don't think you do. I didn't think I did. Maybe you do. There's the email address for Emma for a free consultation. So thank you, Dan, for hanging out with us down in Miami and taking care of all of this stuff for us tonight. We look forward to seeing you again very soon, and we'll talk with you then. Until then, have a great, great week. We'll see you next time.